Hello everyone and welcome to today's Wild Rift video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my 5 top picks for Wild Rift patch 6.0D. Now, of course, this is the final cycle of patch 6.0 with the new rank season happening in a few weeks time. So if you want to quickly climb them ranks and reach your limits, then these are the 5 picks that you should be playing in every single role. First up, my pick for the Baron lane is Gnar. Now, Gnar is a champion that honestly doesn't really have any counters. The only real counters, quote unquote, that he really has are champions that have gap closers like Yasuo and Irelia. Now, of course, we all know that Irelia is not a very good champion at the moment and is even weaker during the early game because of the most recent patch. And Yasuo just in general is not very strong at the moment. So Gnar really has no counters in the Baron lane. You have your range form and your melee form that both have their strengths and weaknesses. But the big thing is really that range form during the laning phase. Now that you have the active on your second ability as well, you can use this to poke enemy champions early on. Even if you're against range matchups in the top lane, like any AD carries like potentially Varus and Vayne, you can go toe to toe with them since you also have range form. And then when you transform into that melee form, you can go into team fights and be a huge carry for your team. Oh, that's a huge fucking ulti. Oh my god, that was beautiful. Oh, that was beautiful. Oh, the timing there with the misfortune ulti. God damn. In the jungle, there'll be no surprise that I have a Mumu for my pick for this patch. With both Ambessa and Echo getting nerfs and Mumu somehow dodging every single nerf possible, Mumu stands strong as the king of the jungle right now and has everything you need as a jungler. He has one of the fastest jungle clear speeds in the entire game, getting to level 5 sooner than any other champion in the game. He has crowd control in team fights, which can make a huge difference, especially with his ultimate Curse of Sad Mummy. With this on top of double bandage toss possibility, he can solo Baron Nashor on spawn. Whether you go for the AP version of the tank version of his build, both builds are able to solo Baron. And he also has damage as well. When you go for your tank build, you're building items like Searing Crown, Sunfire Aegis. You also have Aftershock for damage as well. So he has everything in his kit to become not only the strongest jungler, probably the strongest champion at the moment in the entire game. And if you haven't tried a Mumu yet, he's also really easy to play. He doesn't have that many mechanics. You just need to make sure you hit your crowd control, deal as much damage as possible, and try and tank as much damage as possible as a frontline tank for your team. For the mid lane, there's actually a lot of mages that you can play right now, especially scaling mages that do really well after they upgrade their abilities. Champions like Syndra and even champions like Zoe that have great pick potential. But for me, Victor is still up there as the best right now in this patch. With the scaling that he can offer and the upgrades to his abilities, he has one of the best late game scaling damages of any other mid laner right now. And with this type of build that you're going with runes like Fleet Footwork for the extra mobility and the extra damage potential on your first ability, with items like Lichbane, Infinity Orb and Death Cap, you do so much burst damage with your first ability. But you also have the survivability and the mobility as well with your first ability, that you can dodge skill shots, you can dodge enemy champions and any damage possible, and that you have that big massive AoE damage with his ultimate that can carry team fights. So he has a lot of utility and a lot of ideas that you can create around his kit, with also different builds that you can go for as well. But I think with going for Lichbane and going for this early poke damage build, it's very, very strong. Even during the laning phase as well, you can use Fleet Footwork to your advantage by sustaining during the laning phase, getting that extra movement speed. And the great thing is when you auto attack and prop Fleet Footwork, you can use your first ability, and since your next auto attack already has 100% attack speed, your auto attack is going to be instant as soon as you use your first ability. So the extra proc of damage means that this rune works so well with a champion like Victor, which uses a lot of auto attacks in his kits. Moving down into the duo lane, first up with the Marksman, we have the newly buffed and reworked Corki. Now, Corki is a champion that a lot of people may be a little bit confused about, and it's very hard to keep track of where Corki really stands right now, with so many changes to all of his abilities and buffs, and honestly even shadow buffs that Riot didn't actually tell us in the patch notes. But Corki right now, with the stats that he has available to him and the builds that you have available to you, he does so much burst damage, he has the survivability, and it's crazy how much damage that he can deal with his big rockets and his new package that he has available to him. Now, since Corki doesn't do any magic damage anymore, you could go for a full burst damage crit build, which means that you could do a lot of burst damage, not only with your abilities, which still do a lot of damage even after the rework, but now with your auto attacks, meaning that sometimes you might not even need to buy mana items anymore. You can just go for full damage, no mana items, focus on your auto attacks, and you'll be doing so much crit damage on top of the bonus true damage that you can deal now with your auto attacks thanks to Corki's passive. Corki works best with tank supports, champions like Nautilus, Leona, Blitzcrank, since this makes Corki's time much easier when landing his abilities. And that's why in general Corki bot lane is a lot stronger now than Corki mid, since you're against a lot of these mages in the mid lane that have shielding, that have a lot of mobility and can easily dodge Corki's ability. But when you have a support by your side that has the crowd control and the possibility of being able to lock champions in place, it means that Corki can auto attack, use his big ones on his rockets, and deal as much damage as possible. Like, look how much damage I'm doing. Like, what the fuck is my damage? Like, what? What is my damage? Why did they buff Corki even more? He was already strong. Now he's just OP. Oh, bye-bye, Nunu. It was nice knowing you, buddy. Oh my god, imagine if I got the fucking Veigar there as well. Imagine if I got the Veigar there. Oh yeah, that was raw limit testing. Lastly, down the duo lane with the support, a lot of people talk about Lulu and Yuumi, about how they are really broken, but I'm not seeing a lot of people talk about how strong Milio is right now. Milio still offers the same healing and shielding that Lulu and Yuumi have, but people really sleep on what else Milio can bring to a team fight. With his first ability, he can knock back bruisers or tanks that are jumping onto either yourself or your AD carry, making him really good at peeling. His second ability also gives his carries increased attack range, which is really important for some low range AD carries, and can also be paired with long range AD carries like Caitlyn to make her auto attacks hit from across the map. But also, he has an inbuilt cleanse into his kit with his ultimate. So if your AD carry gets hit by any crowd control, you can use this ultimate, heal up your AD carry, use the cleanse as well, which means he can stay in the team fights and do as much damage as possible. With this on top of the Veil enchant as well, you'll have your ultimate as a cleanse, you'll have Veil enchant as a cleanse. There are so many ways that you can stop the enemy team from getting onto your AD carry that yes, he might not have as much healing and shielding as Lulu, but he has the peeling, he has the cleanse, he has the possibilities of saving your AD carry from all of these big abilities that can get on top of them. Now, of course, there are a lot of champions that I can highlight and a lot of strong champions in this patch. So let me know down in the comments what champions you've been having success on in this patch. And as always, if you enjoy the content on this channel, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one.